Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you've seen the last episode, this is just a review on my recent South Australian 2700k ride. I did over 8 days. I had some technical issues with my camera, so I'm doing it in a postcard format, just giving it a bit of a chat and then showing some pictures at the end that I took with my camera. So, where did I leave off? Victor Harbour. So after we got kicked out of Victor Harbour, it was a busy time. It was around Easter, and so Victor Harbour's a popular tourist area in South Australia, and it's a very popular family designated place. Rod and I both have trailers on our bikes, so we trying to find a park, couldn't find a park, and Rod decided to pull up into a park under a tree, which was all well and good. And I said to him, "Oh, you know, different laws here in South Australia, you're not allowed to park in parks." And so we parked in the park, and I broke up this crayfish, and we got some fresh bread from the bakery, which was all very nice. And I started making a sandwich, and he was on the phone to somebody. And then these council people come over, and I'm not sure if he was trying to big note himself or what. We still had our, vests and leather jackets and bits and pieces on, and we're riding Harley. So I don't know if he was trying to big note himself, but he stomped over, and you can't park your bikes here. They were actually parked on the grass on the other side, but they were doing work. You can't park your bikes here. And going, oh yeah, we just parked up under the shade. There's nowhere to park with a trailer. I don't care what you're doing. You don't get your bikes off immediately. I'm going to call the police. And I kind of go, okay, relax. It's all good. Rod got off the phone. I'd already eaten my sandwich and bits and pieces. I'd had it, and it was set up on top of his trailer because he's got a flat top trailer. And he's come across, and I've explained what's going on. We had to leave the park. And he's kind of thrown everything into his trailer, and we've taken off. Well, as we've left, we're kind of going, well, there's nowhere else we really want to park. It's people everywhere. It was ridiculous. So we decided to just leave Victor. He wanted to go onto the bridge that goes out to Granite Island on the horse-drawn tram. Well, that's been withdrawn at the moment because they're building another new one alongside, because the current bridge or jetty or whatever it is badly need a repair. So they're building a new one next door to it. So the reason we went to Victor is so we could have a ride on this bloody horse-drawn tram, but that didn't happen anyway. So we've left and headed towards Mount Barker. Mount Barker's where I grew up, in the Adelaide Hills. It's about 80k away. So we're heading up to Mount Barker. It was a nice ride weaving up through the hills. My mother passed away 3 years ago, so I haven't been back to Mount Barker since then. So it's been about 3 years, and boy, has a lot changed since then. So we've gone up and we pulled into the caravan park, which I've never stayed at, which is understandable because I kind of grew up in Mount Barker. It's not the sort of thing you do. Really nice caravan park, lovely people, good facilities. We were close to amenities, and it was great. We're only there overnight. So we set up camp and caught up with a couple of my friends. Shout out to Andrew and Gabe. It was also supposed to be Roger was going to catch up with us, but his father passed away on that day we actually arrived, so he couldn't catch up. But shout out to Brownie anyway. Caught up, went up to the Barker for a feed for dinner, and had a few drinks, which was nice, catching up with the guys. I went to school with these two, and yeah, it was nice to see them. Haven't seen them for 3 years. Speak to them on the phone, but that's about all. So after that, we decided to go up to Nuriukta. My daughter and my grandkids live at Nuriukta. Again, about 80k away, so it wasn't a very long ride. bit of breakfast in Mount headed off towards Uri Park in Uri. It's a big 4. Great park, great facilities, huge camp kitchen. If anyone's travelling with families, they've got barbecues and stoves and fridges and a lot of great facilities in there. It was, we never actually cooked and used it, but a lot of people did. And Uri's quite a nice, well, the whole Barossa Valley is a nice place. So we arrived up there early, and on our way up, we decided to do a bit of wine tasting. I'm normally a red wine drinker, and if I drink a white, I like to drink an unwooded Chardonnay. But there was a winery in Lyndoch called Charles Kimicki. So that was the only Riesling I've ever liked. So we've headed out there at like 10 o'clock in the morning or 10:30 in the morning, and get out there, waiting around for the cellar door to open, and nothing's happening. So Rod's walked around the back because you could hear people talking, and had a bit of a chat to them. And they've been recently sold, so they're changing all their licensing. So their cellar door's not open at the moment. Anyway, Rod said, I only like this Riesling, and that's why we've come here. Well, oddly enough, they haven't made the Riesling for 35 years. And Andrew, who was the winemaker, said, he's really apologetic for it and blah, 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 and gave us a private tour of the winery and into the underground cellars. And, big shout out to Andrew. He's English originally, but he's come out to Australia, I think 13 or 14 years ago, he said, and he's been basically in the industry for about 11 years as a vintner. And he wants to be on MasterChef, and we've got talking about being a chef. And I used to work in the Barossa Valley a long time ago, and not that I was ever famous for it, but people kind of knew me, and Maggie Beers from the valley, and I kind of know Maggie and a few people like that. And I know a lot of chefs from the old days before all this TV chef scenario come on, and Rod happened to mention it, and this guy Andrew's taken it on that I'm some sort of celebrity chef, which was nice, unnecessary but nice. So he's given us this private wine tour and bits and pieces. We had a bit of a chat, gave us a couple of bottles of wine to sample, because he was so sorry that they didn't make the Rieslings anymore. But in saying that, they've decided they're going to make Riesling again for the future vintages. So 2021 vintage Riesling, I think they're going to make, and continue making them again. So that was nice. Then we get up to the underground, which used to be Bazado's, but it's a Burge winery now. Trent and his sister Amelia have taken it on in the old Bazado winery, one in Tanunda. So it's run by the Burge family estate. Trent and Amelia, as I said. So you walk downstairs, about 8 or 9 stairs downstairs. Lovely. It's called the Underground, and it's underground for a reason. So you go in there, and we got greeted by a lovely girl called Nicole, and asked us if we wanted to do the 1 hour wine tasting. And so yep, so we sampling all these wines, and they give you a little taster. For example, with a Cab Sav that I bought, a Shiraz they bought, they gave us freeze-dried strawberries, and just so each wine, which was about 8 of them, had a little sampler with it. And so Ashley, the tourism manager for the Burge family estate, he come on board, and he started getting involved in our little wine tasting, and treated us very nicely. And 3.5 hours later, and quite a number of bottles of wine we bought to take away and to drink there. Met some lovely people, Maria Spencer and her husband. Now, it's either Paul or Jamie. I can't quite remember. Sorry about that, guys. So we met them, lovely people. Chatted to a few other people in the in the wine tasting cellar area, and Rod bought a couple of bottles of wine and we're passing that around, and yeah, it's tended to be a big long session. So 3.5 hours that turned out to be for our 1 hour tasting. It was lovely. They were lovely people. So again, a big shout out to Nicole and Ashley for your perfect hospitality. Ashley's also the president, I think it is, of the Mount Pleasant Farmers Market. So he gave us a couple of vouchers to go down there the next day or a couple of days later, and we got little guest voucher things, and people treated us lovely down there as well. But so a couple of days in Uri, caught up with my daughter Kylie and my grandkids, Jade who's 11 and Eamon who's 6, who live in Uri. Caught up with those. So Thursday we arrived there, and South Australia didn't go on school holidays until the Friday afternoon. So we went out for dinner the first night with them, spent the day terrorising the Barossa Valley. We went to a wine bar on the Friday called Zed, met another lady called Nikki, who was lovely. A few too many wines again. That's the problem with the Barossa Valley, and the hospitality, it's just great. So that was Zed in Tanunda. So we went there and had some wine and a couple of coffees. Went out to Saltram's Wines at Anguston for lunch, which was lovely. Again, a few more wines and a bit more tasting. A few more wines were bought. We ended up shipping home, I think we shipped home half a dozen bottles of wine, and between Rod and I, we probably had 8 or 9 bottles of wine with us as well. So yeah, lots of wine was bought and shipped. But that was lovely. Caught up with Kylie again Friday night and went around to her house and cooked her dinner and bits and pieces, so that was nice. Saturday we headed off and went down to Mount Pleasant Farmers Market, as I said, with our VIP announcement thing from Ashley, and everyone was lovely down there. Had a great, absolutely fantastic breakfast. If you're ever in Mount Pleasant on the Farmers Markets Day, go have their, and I'll call it a big breakfast. It's about $15 or $16, and it's got sausages and mushrooms and homemade baked beans and homemade bread and homemade relishes and bacon and eggs, and it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And then we had to have some cakes and some biscuits there and more coffee. And eventually we headed off, heading towards my sister at Waikerie. So we're heading out. It's about 100, I think it's about 160 or 170k. So it wasn't a huge ride, but we're getting out towards Sedan, Walker's Flat, and crossing over to the Walker's Flat jet ferry. As I said, coming down through the Sedan Hill, what they call the Sedan Hill, it's quite twisty and windy. And naturally I'm hauling the stupid trailer, so I'm going slower. Rod passes me, which is all good. Gets to the bottom of the hill out on the flats, and he's pulled over to the side of the road. So I go past him, and expecting him to see him. Now my bike sits fairly low and my trailer's fairly high, so I can only see his headlights flashing in the background. And that's only because you're bouncing along. So every once in a while I can see this headlight flashing. So I'm thinking, yep, Rod's behind me. We've only got, I don't know, 10, 15 kilometres. So I go past Rod, see this headlight bouncing behind me, going, yep, all good. So we get down to a T section. One part goes to a dirt road. You follow the Walker's Flat Road around, probably goes for, I don't know, a kilometre, and then you pull onto the ferry. I can see this headlight flashing in the background. The ferry's there, he's waiting for me, so I go, yep, so I pull onto the ferry. It's only probably a minute, 2 minutes across the river, and then you can pull out. So I pulled onto this ferry and pull up the other side, can't see Rod. So I wait there for him. knowing he didn't get on the same ferry as me. Mind you, I was a bit surprised at the time. So I've turned around, I'm looking for Rod, and the guy goes, oh, I don't know where he is. I'll go back and have a look. So another cycle of the ferry goes around, and he goes, he didn't get on, and go, no, I can see that. And I'm kind of going, oh, that's strange. He goes, oh, my wife's going out of town. I'll see if she can spot him. So he rings his wife, complete stranger, to see if he can see Rod, if something's happened. As I said, I lost him, I thought, about 1.5 kilometres back. So another 2 or 3 cycles of the ferry go, and I've rung Rod, but he doesn't have a communication, so unless he's off the bike, he picks his phone up. So I've rung him. Where the hell are you? I don't know. Where the fuck I am. A wet weather cover I had on my bag at the back blew off. So he stopped. He's turned around to go back and get it for me. Turned around and I've lost him. So he's cracked the shits and going, that's it, I'm going home. So he's riding back to Melbourne. He's got a house in outer suburbs of Melbourne, so he's decided he's going to go back to Melbourne. Still not quite sure why, and I've spoken to him since, still don't know why. He's just thrown his hands in the air. It's all got too hard for him. I had a conversation with him a few days earlier saying it's all a bit rushed and I wasn't enjoying myself. As I said, I was going back to make a connection with South Australia, and we're just kind of flying through it, not enjoying it at all. And I mentioned that to him. So I don't know if that's reflected on it or something happened at home or what, I'm not really sure. So we've parted ways at Walker's Flat. I've continued up to Waikerie to see my sister and brother-in-law, Vicky and Graham, and spent the night there, which was great. Caught up with them, got on the rum and the port, which was a bad thing. Can't drink a bottle of port while you're travelling. But it was great catching up with them, and they live just outside of Waikerie. Next day I decided to ride to Swan Hill. I think Swan Hill was about 300 kilometres, 350 kilometres. So I've got up, crossed the border, gone up through Renmark, Mildura, and continued down that way. I was starting to get a little bit sore. It was getting late in the day and I'd kind of had enough riding by myself. So I was going to stop at Swan Hill. And I was getting low on fuel. So I thought I'd go into Tulibuck. And at the time, I didn't even think anything of it. So I pulled over the bridge, gone to the Tulibuck caravan park in Nuffield. I've got 16 Ks of fuel left. And it's about 25 Ks to Swan Hill. So I've gone bugger, put some fuel in off the bike that I was carrying, 4 or 5 litres, and gone to Swan Hill. And checked in there for the night. Another great family caravan park. If you're travelling with your kids and stuff, they've got a huge jumping castle and a water fun park, splash park, and a big swimming pool, and there's kids running around absolutely everywhere. It's a little bit crazy. If you've got kids, it's good. I was travelling by myself, but that was still entertaining. And I was close to the amenities for a change, unlike Meningie, where it was a cut lunch and water bag. You had to take a sandwich with you to get to it. No lights in Meningie. So you're staggering around in the dark, tripping over hoses and stuff, and bloody awful. The caravan park itself was nice, but it was bloody awful if you're staying where we were. I've shown in the previous video how far away we were. And that's not to scale. We're actually a long way away. Where this park, I was probably 50 metres from the toilets. And it was great. Great showers, great facilities. And as I said, if you've got kids, fantastic. And these, the next morning when I was packing up, these little kids were running around. They're probably 9 or 10. And, you know, the boys are asking me normal sort of questions like, you know, how big's the Harley? And do I really sleep in my tent? And And, you know, do I really tow this around? And then this little girl, must have been 8, 9, 10, something like that, and got these glasses, pushed the glasses up on my face and on her face, and says to me, "So is this why you don't have a wife?" And I kind of taken back by and go, "What do you mean? How do you know I don't have a wife?" And she puts her hands on her hips and goes, "My mum would never let my dad have a motorbike, so I guess you don't have a wife." And I had to laugh because it's so true. I met her mother later, and it's so true. There was no way she would ever let her husband have a motorbike. But it was a really nice caravan park. Just there overnight. Again, great facilities, big barbecue, big camp kitchen. So if you're travelling with family, Swan Hill Caravan Park. I think that was a big 4 as well. Fantastic. And from Swan Hill, I thought I would make the run home, which was 503 kilometres. It's a long ride, and as I said, I get sore having your feet out in an extended sort of position, which is quite comfortable, but because the tank's close and you're sliding down, and after 8 days of riding, and I've got a bit sore in my thighs, so I made the dash for home. Good ride all the way along. Stopped when I wanted to, ate when I wanted to, rested when I wanted to. So in that regards, it was nice riding by myself. If I'd had enough, I just stopped. Got to Mitamita about 4 o'clock. Mitamita is 105 kilometres over the hill. I've only actually ever been one way. I was taking Casey with it on the bike. I've only been one way. And that was when I had my accident. We'd been down to Mitamita Hotel. Saw a friend of mine, Chris O'Connor, who runs the pub down there. I'll let him shout out to Chris. Fantastic. Lovely pub, lovely little town. Pulled up there, took the compulsory photo outside the pub, and decided to come over the hill. So it was about 4 o'clock. Sun's starting to go down, and I've forgotten how shitty that road is. In the week prior, they had snow over at Falls. It's only 105 kilometres. It's not far at all. So I've started coming over, get to the top of the hill, and it's freezing cold. Freezing cold. I've got my leather jacket on and a vest and stuff, riding in my summer gloves. I should have actually put my gauntlets on, but I didn't. Sun's starting to go down, the bloody deer are out, the wombats are out, the kangaroos are out. All the last minute dash for the motorbikes. I like to fly through the hills, all the sports bikes. Flogging down there, absolutely caning. It was horrible. Horrible. It took me about an hour and 45 minutes. Again, I wasn't going particularly fast because of the corners and kangaroo. When you're coming over the top, the ride was getting frosty. It was actually a little bit slippery. And I was, I've been riding all day. I'm in the last probably 60 or 70k, and it was horrible. Hated it. Out of my whole trip, I think the last 105k was the worst. I got back into Omeo, because once you get back down near Anglers Rest, which is about 28k away or 25k away, something like that, the sun's out and it's warm again, and riding through to Mitamita, you're coming through canyons and all high shaded trees, and it's a pretty ride. I've done it in the car and I've never noticed it. I've done it once on the motorbike, and as I was coming back over, I remembered why I don't ride my Harley over there. It's definitely a sports bike track or road. The road quality is good, but it's just shitty, especially towing a trailer. So I've gotten back into Omeo about 5:45 and got home. Had a ball. Absolutely had a ball. Would I do it again? Yes. Would I ride with somebody else? No. I enjoyed my ride by myself, as I said, because then I could stop. If I wanted to take a stupid photo with the half tyre coming over the Victorian border, I just stopped. I didn't have to allow for anybody else. I'm not a good group rider, I know that. If I had someone on the bike, it might be different, but I don't think I would do that ride again in a group or with anyone else. I enjoyed my time. It can get a bit lonely. I got music in my helmet blaring away, and which was nice. That's where my charger started breaking. When my phone charges or discharges, it tells me. It says, you know, connected for power or disconnected from power. Well, this thing was going on and off, on and off, on and off the whole bloody way. But I needed it for my music if I wanted it, and my GPS if I wanted it. So it was a pain in the arse in that regard. So I had a battery pack. I ended up charging it, plugging it into, and just tucking the battery pack into my jacket and charged it that way. Because the charger on the bike was no good. I've ordered a quad lock. I use a quad lock system. So a quad lock anti-vibration thing for the bike. Because apparently the iPhone 11s, I think it might be 10s, 11s and 12s, because of their camera, the vibration buggers them up. So I ordered an anti-vibration thing, and I've ordered a cordless charger. So you just put it on, charges, and it charges through the phone. So that's arriving on this week sometime, I think. But I had an absolute ball. I've given the bike a bit of a tub now, cleaned all the shit off the white walls. I don't know if you can see it, but it's all white and clean. I had to soak. The amount of bugs coming over, I noticed my headlights were dim one night. And when I got back here, my headlights were actually caked in little bugs. So I don't know where I picked that up, but I had to soak all the bugs off it and then give it a wash. And I've given it a little bit of a polish, not that you can really tell, but it's way better than what it was. Cleaned out all my trailer and bits and pieces. So like the last video, I'll put up some photos that I've taken. I've got a little bit of film footage I'll try to include in this one. Again, the audio is still crap. I don't think the microphone had completely recovered at that stage. It seems to be working okay now, but I broke my helmet mount, so I had to move my camera to the side so it melted directly onto it, and then I had to reposition my microphones, and it wasn't quite set up right, so it's kind of crackly and hissy. So I'll see if I can add some of that stuff to it, and we'll go from there. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If this is the sort of thing you like to see, give us a like and a thumbs up. I'm disappointed I never got to camp cook or do cooking while I was away. As I said, if I'm riding by myself, I would have probably cooked more. But with Rod, we just seem to eat out every time. So even some really basic stuff. But it's getting cooler now. I go back to work this week. School holidays in Victoria have finished. Another 9 weeks and I'm on holidays again. So we might see if we can go out and do it again. I'm having a thought. I might make myself a mini, and it's only toying with the idea at the moment, a mini teardrop trailer to pull up, to tow. One, while it was out nice riding in this and plenty of room and bits and pieces, when you had to pack up in the morning from the heavy dews at night, it took quite a while to dry out, or you pack it up wet and then at the next place you open it up and hope it dries out. And I like the idea. I've had a look at some of them and I quite like the look of some of them. So I might scratch something down and show you what I'm talking about. It just looks like a little caravan. They're only about 7 foot long, 4 foot wide, so a fraction longer than this in the bed. But all you do is open it up and you climb in. You're done. It's a little mini caravan, and a lot of them have a camp kitchen or kitchen set up in the back. I don't know if I'll have that in addition to this, or build that, see how it works, and then maybe sell this. I don't really know. But on that, I would build it with electric brakes straight off, or brakes straight off. Slightly bigger wheels, have it hung lower. Again, because a little bit heavier, and because the experience I've had towing this thing down. But I'll scratch something out and I'll give you a show. I'll show you in future videos what I'm thinking. I can weld, so I can do the basic frame. I can buy a axle with all the brake components on it. So it's not that bad. So we'll see how we go. I'll give that a thought. But as I said, if you like this, give us a thumbs up and a like. Shout out to everyone from South Australia that I caught up with. Gabriel and Andrew and my sister Vicky and Kylie and the grandkids. And my brother and sister over there as well. It was nice catching up. As I said, a little bit rushed. Maybe next time I'll do it over a 2-week period and just take my time. But until next time, bye for now. Wait for the postcards at the end and what films I've got. And I'll see you next time.